The hills are alive with the sound of nothing. It's an EV, they don't make noise. But welcome to Austria. Isn't it absolutely beautiful? We're just outside Salzburg today, looking at the all-new Volkswagen ID.5. Or as you might want to call it, an ID.4 in a coupe. But it is a brand new model that will be available in Ireland from July. Fingers crossed, supply issues, all that stuff. The car is going to cost from €55,000. If you want a GTX version of it, you can get a business edition of it. That's mid-60s. And then topping out at about €78,000 for a 300 brake horsepower dual motor version of the car. But this is the Pro, and in my opinion, just get the Pro. 549 litre boot. Yes, it's automatic tailgate. It can tow 1,400 kilos, and you can get a little tow bar that very neatly just tucks down like this, and it's beautiful. It's just a thing of beauty how it works, and then you just manually clip it back. Now, if you think about it, a Skoda Octavia is 600 litre boot, and to look at that, you kind of go, right, there's 50 litres less. But I don't know whether it's just height this way, I'm not sure, but you can obviously drop this floor down a little bit, give yourself a bit more space, and there's also charging cable space, your Type 2, and first aid kits and all that stuff, shopping hooks, all the usual things you need in the back of a family SUV. One other thing, because it's the ID.5 and not the ID.4, you get a boot spoiler. Very nice it is indeed. You can get an optional glass roof, and this can be black. The rear quarter here is silver, so there's actually a few different colours going on in this bright white colour. 21-inch alloy wheels sitting on this car. They're not standard, but again, we've seen these on the ID.4. Despite the size of it on the roads here anyway, it's still a very, very well-balanced car. Feels sturdy, but never harsh. Now, from memory of the ID.4 on Dublin roads, it was still pretty good. Let's check out the inside. Again, very familiar. ID.3, ID.4 steering wheel, same setup with the screen, although it is a great size. Your map tells you an awful lot of information. You could possibly say a confusing amount of information. What is interesting about this version is, and I'll try and quickly get to it as quick as I can. Yes, this is version 3.1. So most cars on the road today will be 3.0. This version will allow you to do things like lane change with the car doing the work for you in combination with travel assist. I think, because it's still a kind of a tricky one to figure out, indicate, car will move out, overtake the vehicle in front of you and return to the lane it was originally in. This also has your augmented head-up display. It's brilliant. It's about €1,000 an optional extra. It may not be for you, but it works really, really well. You still get these independent armrests. I think, again, just things to make the ID.5 stand out a bit. This could have been a more traditional style armrest with something housed here. I don't know. And even, that covers up and it's nice, but it's kind of a vast space then of plastic, and you can still get all these dividers that hold your drinks and all that stuff. So again, it's very, very familiar if you've been in a Pro version of an ID.4. If you can, stretch to the upgraded colours, because it really just gives you a nice contrast on the inside of the car, and the glass roof obviously floods the light in, especially for rear passengers. The roof in this car, by the way, is 12 millimeters less in height than an ID.4. You can keep the kids safe in the back with your control panel that I finally figured out how to use. I'm very impressed with myself on that. Back of these seats, stuff and storage. Down here also, you've got your armrests, loads of space for cup holders. There is access to the boot if you've got something in IKEA or whatever that needs to fit through. So they really have thought of families at every opportunity really, and what you need in a family car. Flat floor because it's a ground up EV. You get your own climate control and 2 USB-C charging ports down here, and you know what, there's pretty decent thigh support on this part of the bench as well, so longer journeys you'd be a bit more comfortable. If these seats are quite low down to the ground, not a huge amount of space for feet. That's the only real negative, but glass roof does not impede at all on the head height, and I think generally you'd feel nice and spacious back here. So some other bits of information coming with the ID.5. Cloud data will be available with that 3.1 software, swarm data, traffic information from other Volkswagens. So there's a lot of clever stuff. Over-the-air updates, of course. It will do 135 kilowatt charging, which is really, really fast. Still though, if the only place you're going to get that type of speed in Ireland is generally something like Ionity. But you could definitely say there's a lot of future-proofing going on in the car with that kind of availability in terms of speed. Something else Volkswagen touched on was battery care. So a lot of times there's conflicting conversations from brands. Is it okay to charge 100%? A lot of EV owners will say you don't need to if you're not doing longer journeys, but there's a specific, it felt like almost a default setting that the car will charge to 80%, and if you want to move the slider, that in fairness has been available on the ID.3 since day one, you can do that. But they just were kind of, I felt kind of saying, remember, don't go beyond 80% if you're not going to frequently do the mileage, and probably most of us don't. Now, for driving of this car, I've been on the trip with Bob Flavin, and the two of us kind of did I don't know what you call it, a one-off mini-series episode. We covered absolutely everything in driving of the GTX version of the car, but looks-wise and apart from the performance, in many ways it's the same car. So if you want to watch that video and find out what the driving of it is like, and kind of get both our opinions on it, hit that link there and you'll be able to see it in quite a lot of detail. Good morning from day 2 of the Volkswagen ID.5, yeah? So today we're driving back to Salzburg to then go back to Dublin. So it's the return leg, and this is the Pro version of the ID.5. It's the single motor, so that's rear wheel drive, 204 brake horsepower, same engine or battery motor you get in ID.3, ID.4. And basically, if you want to know what an ID feels like to drive, an ID.5, drive an ID.4. If if these haven't landed yet and your dealer hasn't got one, and although I think I have seen a few floating around, maybe, but that's how the car drives. It's very well planted. The steering is heavy. There's a nice weight to it, so you do feel like you're driving something very premium. In that context, it feels very, very big. Obviously, the larger 21-inch alloy wheels are adding to that. Consumption-wise, 15 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. And last night at dinner, I was talking to a man from Volkswagen. Can't remember his first name, but he said some interesting things, like the version of 3.1 that's in this car now. They looked at it and they changed some operating temperature within the battery, and they're like, if we knock that down to operate pretty comfortably at 10 degrees Celsius, what tweaks will that make? Because I said to him, I noticed even on the GTX version, which you can watch the full review of with myself and Bob Flavin up there, even that GTX version of the ID.5 was easier on battery. And he said that was down to 3.1, and he said we can make so many little tweaks with the software that will actually affect the car's range and energy consumption whenever we like. And I just thought, like, that is pretty cool to be able to do that. I've mentioned it quite a bit, but swarm data was like a cloud-based communication between other Volkswagens, and it'll give you information about traffic. I've been reading up about the travel assist, which gives you an auto lane change in this car. It operates over 90 kilometers an hour. You do have to have your hands on the steering wheel, but I feel a bit more informed today about how that works. So we're going to give that a little try later on. Apart from that though, look, it's comfortable. I'm always sort of nervous to say it rides really, really well when you're on roads like this in better conditioned road countries than Ireland, but generally for the size of the wheel this car is sitting on, the weight of the car, every lump and bump in the road, it handles it pretty well. And actually, if you go for the Pro version, the starting price is obviously a significant factor to consider. But apart from when you can actually put the boot down and when you want a little bit more grip, and the GTX will obviously grip better, being all-wheel drive, really the Pro is more than enough, and I think you'll be very, very satisfied. At 92% battery today, we're well over 429 kilometers. I just feel, again, with that software update, this is a car on a warmer day, if you're really taking it easy, I think taking out a motorway sustained drive out of the equation, I think you'd see 500 kilometers out of this car. So yeah, if you can't get your hands on 95 and you're just wondering would it be the car for you, and I don't want to order it blind and all that stuff, just take an ID.4 for a spin and imagine it has a spoiler on the back, and it looks a little bit cooler. But to drive it, it will feel very, very similar. Anyway, conclusion time. So look, this is a very first look. We've been dodging thunderstorms, rain. What a breathtaking place, by the way. If you're ever looking for somewhere to go that isn't necessarily your typical place for a break or a holiday, check out Salzburg and some of these places. I'll put the link for the hotel in the comment section down below because it's fantastic. Very quick first look at the ID.5. Look, it's the next step for people that want to get a slightly more stylish ID.4 version of the car. I still think the Pro version is the one to get. Obviously GTX is great and an extra bit of power, but really in Ireland, I think price-wise and stuff, 55,000 is kind of where people are going to be happy enough to go for it. Yes, it is still a lot of money. Yes, that comment will always pop up when it comes to EVs, but I just think it's a pretty good looking version of essentially what is still an ID.4 with a few minor changes here and there. Once again, check out that full extensive review with myself and Bob on the channel, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you very soon.